Laparoscopy, surgical, ureteral lithotomy. The physician performs a laparoscopic surgical removal of a stone, calculus, lodged in the ureter, ureteral lithotomy. In an abdominal approach, the physician creates an umbilical port by placing a trocar at the level of the umbilicus. The abdominal wall is insufflated. The laparoscope is placed through the umbilical port and additional trocars are placed into the abdominal cavity. In the back, flank, approach, the trocar is placed at the back proximate to the retroperitoneal space near the kidney with additional ports placed nearby for appropriate access to the operative site. The physician uses the laparoscope fitted with a fiber optic camera or an operating instrument to isolate the calculus and remove it through an incision in the ureter. The ureter is surgically closed. The small abdominal or back, flank, incisions are closed with staples or sutures. Is it appropriate to report code 50945, laparoscopy, surgical, ureteral lithotomy, for each stone removed from the ureter? No. Code 50945 is intended to be reported one time per surgical session, regardless of the number of stones removed. Laparoscopy, surgical, ureterocystostomy with cystoscopy and ureteral stent placement. Ureterocystostomy without cystoscopy and ureteral stent placement. The physician repositions the ureter on the bladder, due to an obstruction of the ureterovesical junction, using a laparoscopic approach. A stent may be placed with a cystoscope. In both procedures the physician makes a 1 cm periumbilical incision and inserts a trocar. The abdominal cavity is insufflated with carbon dioxide. A fiber optic laparoscope fitted with a camera and light source is inserted through the trocar. Other incisions, ports, are made in the abdomen to allow other instruments or an additional light source to be passed into the abdomen. The physician manipulates the tools so the ureter and bladder can be observed through the laparoscope. The physician transects the ureter above the point of obstruction, brings the ureter through a stab incision in the bladder, and sutures the ureter to the new site on the bladder. The physician inserts a cystoscope and places a stent in the repositioned ureter to provide support of the ureter. In 50948, the ureter is repositioned without cystoscopy or stent placement. The instruments are removed. The incisions are closed with staples or suture. Laparoscopy, surgical, urethral suspension for stress incontinence. The physician treats stress incontinence in the male or female patient. The bladder is suspended by placing several sutures through the tissue surrounding the urethra and into support structures. The sutures are pulled tight so that the urethra is elevated and moved forward. Laparoscopy, surgical, sling operation for stress incontinence, e.g., fascia or synthetic. The physician inserts an instrument through the cervix into the uterus to manipulate the uterus. The physician places a sling under the junction of the urethra and bladder. The physician places a catheter in the bladder, makes an incision in the anterior wall of the vagina, and folds and tacks the tissues around the urethra. A sling is formed out of synthetic material or from fascia harvested from the sheath of the rectus abdominis muscle. The loop end of the sling is sutured around the junction of the urethra. An incision is made in the lower abdomen and the ends of the sling are grasped with a clamp and pulled into the incision and sutured to the rectus abdominis sheath.